Good evening. This is Brian Thomas Simons, and these are the main headlines of this hour. Among other news,
1. New 266 executive decisions were released in the Oval Office during the weekend. Among them, a new executive decision declares that Texas flooding is God's punishment for FEMA's daily sins. Therefore, resources appropriated by Congress for FEMA will be reapportioned to Alligator Alcatraz, and its assets will be auctioned. The proceeds resulting from the auction will be reapportioned to President Trump's presidential library. B. New executive decision states that Justice Amy Coney Barrett will be declared DAI and arrested by masked ICE agents unless she is more compliant, like her other GOP-picked colleagues. The new executive decision declares that persons, justices included, who do not agree with President Trump's decisions can be declared illegal aliens by ICE agents and arrested accordingly. C. New executive decision declares that the alternative minimum tax that affected President Trump in his last known tax returns is DAI and therefore illegal. As a result, it will be applied retroactively, and the amounts collected for the alternative minimum tax will be refunded to President Trump with interest. 2. Rubio briefly leaves the Maldives to discuss Ukraine, Syria, Iran with Lavrov but runs away in terror. Trump: I let little Marco leave the Maldives because I knew Lavrov would terrify him, but I couldn't help myself. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was seen leaving hastily a brief meeting previously brokered by President Trump between Sergei Lavrov, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, and Rubio. It was known that Secretary Rubio returned to the Maldives, where President Trump has assigned him to represent the United States for the foreseeable future, without making declarations. Asked about the abrupt ending of the meeting, President Trump declared, I knew it would happen. I let little Marco leave the Maldives because I knew Lavrov would terrify him, but I couldn't help myself. Then, when asked about whether Rubio would continue as state secretary, the president responded, I have his electronic signature, and that's all I need from him. But his wife says he is well. He just needs time to recover from the impression. 3. As state fires more than 1,300 employees, Wang Yi frightens Secretary Rubio. Secretary Rubio's doctors reveal that the Secretary of State had not fully recovered from his meeting with the Russian Foreign Affairs Minister Sergei Lavrov, when President Trump arranged another meeting for him, this time with China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who also traumatized the young secretary. It's not just their faces, it was also their command of the issues, their personalities. It was not as in Europe, where he was convinced Zelensky and European leaders were afraid of him because he was Trump's Secretary of State. It simply was too much for Secretary Rubio, but he will come back better and stronger, declared his chief of staff. Asked about this second unfortunate incident, President Trump declared, It's okay, I knew it would happen. It's bad to do these things to little Marco, but I can't help myself. He'll be okay. Besides, all I need from him is his electronic signature to fire employees, like the 1,300 employees who had not attended my military parade. 4. Statue of Trump made of gold will be added to Walt Disney's Orlando Park, Florida. The decision was announced by Walt Disney Company's CEO Bob Iger as he presented the proof of concept of the change. It was part of a settlement after President Trump sued Disney for being too woke. At first, I was about to reject the proposal, but then I was reminded by the Justice Department that the president was going to order an investigation of Disney by the Securities and Exchange Commission and the IRS. And that made me see the justice of his point, declared Iger as he presented the art concept of the new look that will place Donald Trump at the side of Walt Disney and Mickey. And it had to be made of gold and larger than Walt Disney himself? Asked one reporter. It was a non-negotiable part of the president's proposal, Iger explained. 5. New controversial attractions added to Alligator Alcatraz. FEMA's funds will pay for it. A new report by ProPublica revealed that a new number will be added to the ones forced on the recently arrested by ICE, Democratic primary winner Zoran Mamdani. The new number will show immigration detainees fighting with their bare hands hungry alligators until the alligators satisfy their hunger. Remember that this will be faster and cheaper than deportations, and it is within the parameters set by the president in last week's executive decision. Furthermore, the entrance fee will be used to pay for the president's immigration policies, and it will not add a cent to the deficit since its costs will be covered by FEMA funds. And will be a show for the whole family, for the whole MAGA family, clarified Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. 6. DNC announces plan of action based on the Speaking with American Men study. Democratic leaders Schumer and Jeffries joined DNC Chair Ken Martin to unveil the Democratic Party's new strategy to regain a demographic that has been elusive of their message in the last elections, particularly the 2024 presidential election. In just 1 week after the study, Speaking with American Men, was presented to the public, Democrats have been able to assemble a plan of action that tackles directly the findings of the study. 1. Coordinating with Starbucks to make its lattes more available to American men, so these don't have to order the ordinary coffee served by McDonald's. 2. A campaign to make mandatory, starting in 2nd grade, watching the movie Emilia Perez. It may seem too premature to force 7- and 8-year-olds to watch this movie, but that's the best time to prevent homophobia and misogyny from ruining their minds. By the time they are 18, it's already too late, declared Jeffries. 3. Coordinating with Disney Plus a campaign to make the channel more affordable for families. That will make a difference in families with male kids who spend too much time talking about rent and groceries instead of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This step will allow male kids to watch Ironheart and Rachel Zegler's Snow White, which will also give them tools to counter their innate racism and misogyny, added Schumer. 4. In addition to this campaign, the Democratic message will double down on reminding what their real priorities should be, which should be diversity, equity, and inclusion. That, and reminding them that Trump is bad, is essential to bring young males ruined by the patriarchy back to the party, concluded leader Jeffries. 7. DNC Chair Martin implements another recommendation from Speaking with American Men study, creating their first pride flag. The Democratic leader urged Americans not subscribed yet to Disney Plus to do so. Ken Martin, DNC chair, came up with his own initiative based on the recommendations made by the study, Speaking with American Men, an initiative that was cheered by the top leaders of the Democratic Party. Creating the first pride flag for heterosexual men. It had not been prioritized in the conclusions of the study, but then I realized we had to be inventive if we wanted male heteros who had been ruined by the patriarchy back in the party. And that's when it came to me that we have pride flags and parades for all the groups included in LGBTQ+, but not for male heteros. For now, I am coming up with their first flag, but I am convincing our leadership to come with the first parade as soon as possible, concluded DNC Chair Ken Martin. 8. As MAGA presents Trump Superman, Democrats felt compelled to relaunch Biden Iron Man in plan to regain young vote. After the initial confusion caused among the MAGA base by the art that presented President Trump as Superman due to the mottos, Truth, Justice, The American Way, the mottos were clarified as Epstein, Dollar Trump, Alligator Alcatraz, The American Way, after which the MAGA base, relieved by the change, rallied supporting the meme. On the other hand, DNC Chair Ken Martin made it a priority to relaunch the Biden Iron Man and the Choose Your Fighter campaigns. Our superheroes will be cooler than theirs, concluded Martin at the end of the presentation. 9. Florida man says 3 syringes found in his rectum aren't his. Pinellas County deputies said the man told them the syringes were a setup by the Florida Democratic Party. Wesley Dasher Scott, 40. Was arrested on a drug charge early Friday morning and was taken to the receiving area of the Pinellas County Jail. The astonishing twist came when, while he was being strip-searched, 3 syringes were recovered from Scott's rectum, according to an arrest affidavit. Scott alleged that the syringes were not his, and that they had been placed there by the Florida Democratic Party since he is a good Republican. The Pinellas County Sheriff released Scott on the grounds of the Patriot Defense, which was turned into precedent by the Supreme Court when it saw the case of the January 6 rioters, and announced coordination with the district attorney to start an investigation of the Florida Democratic Party's relation to this case.
This has been the news of this hour. Sponsored by Church of the Holy Redeemer's Power in the Spirit. Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Savior? Did you vote for Trump in 2016 and then in 2020? This is the right church for you. If so, Church of the Holy Redeemer's Power in the Spirit is the only Christian church that can promise you in the Lord to have 72 virgins in heaven for only a donation of $50 a month. You will have access to those 72 virgins in heaven. For an additional $25, you will be allowed to replace 10 of them, and for $100, Heaven Premium, you will be allowed to choose them for yourself. Guaranteed, if you're not satisfied with those 72 virgins after you die, full refund of your money. We accept Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover.